The Curse of La Siguanaba, Part 1. The woman of the sun long before the cities and highways, before the church bells and the electric light, when the forests of Central America were thick and endless, the people lived close to the whispers of the gods. The mountains were their guardians, the rivers their veins, and the wind carried voices older than memory. The earth was young then, alive with spirits that breathed through the trees and shimmered across the water. In that sacred time, there stood a kingdom of maize and stone, ruled by a lineage said to descend from the gods themselves. The people worshipped the sun with offerings of cocoa and feathers, and they sang to the rain so it would bless the crops. Each dawn was a prayer, and each night a mystery watched by countless stars. Among those people lived a woman whose beauty was said to rival the dawn itself. Her name was Sihuehuet, which meant the beautiful woman. Her skin glowed like copper polished by the morning sun. Her hair fell in dark rivers down her back, and her eyes, two deep pools of amber, seemed to hold the light of fireflies at dusk. When she walked through the market square, men forgot to breathe. When she smiled, hearts trembled. Even the priests, whose eyes were meant to stay fixed on heaven, found their prayers faltering in her presence. But her beauty was not her gift, it was her weapon. Sihuehuet knew the power her reflection gave her. In a world where men commanded the fields and warriors claimed the glory of battle, she ruled with a glance, with a whisper, with a soft turn of her lips. Her husband, Taquatzin, was one of the kingdom's greatest warriors, a man whose courage had earned him both scars and songs. He loved her beyond reason. For him, Sihuehuet was not merely a wife. She was the sun itself, and he, her faithful shadow. Yet love alone could not tame the heart of a woman who worshipped her own reflection. When the rains came late and the fields began to crack under the merciless heat, Taquatzin was called to war to defend the borders of the kingdom. For months he was gone, leaving his wife behind in their stone house by the river. At first, Sihuehuet prayed for his safety, lighting incense at the temple and offering flowers to the gods. But as the moons passed, her prayers grew hollow. Her voice no longer called for her husband's return. It whispered instead to her own reflection in the sacred waters. Every morning she went to the river to wash, and there in the gleam of the water she saw not loneliness but perfection. She would trace her reflection with her fingertips, admiring her hair, her lips, her skin kissed by the sun, until one day something else looked back. The villagers said the air changed that day. The light shimmered strangely on the water, and thunder rolled without clouds. In the rippling reflection beside hers appeared another face, luminous and proud. They said it was Tlaloc, god of the rains and of the sun's reflection upon the rivers. Whether it was the god who first looked upon her, or her vanity that summoned him, no mortal could tell. But from that moment, the air around the river grew warm even in the cool of dawn, and Sihuehuet's heart began to race with a desire she could not name. That night, as the moon rose above the jungle, she returned to the water. Mist curled around her ankles like living smoke. The frogs fell silent, the trees stilled, and the river glowed faintly as if reflecting a hidden flame. Then he came, the god in the form of a man. His eyes burned like lightning trapped in obsidian. His voice was the deep murmur of storms. "Sihuehuet," he said, "your beauty reaches even the heavens. The gods have watched you, and I have come to see what mortal light dares to rival the sun." And though her heart trembled, she did not bow. "If the gods have eyes, then let them look," she answered. "For beauty is not a sin." From that night on, she met him in secret, beneath the moon and the mist. Their union was forbidden, yet irresistible. Fire meeting water, heaven touching earth. The river glowed with every step she took, and the scent of rain followed her wherever she went. But the gods are not blind forever. When the priest noticed the sudden storms that came without offerings, he warned the people. "The balance has been broken," he said. "A mortal has stolen the favor of the divine." Yet Sihuehuet cared little for their warnings. For in her arms she now carried a child, a boy born from light and shadow. They named him Chipitillo, and his laughter was like the tinkling of bells carried by the wind. His skin gleamed like golden maize, and his eyes shimmered with starlight. Wherever he went, flowers seemed to bloom, and even the birds grew silent to listen to his laughter. The people called him a miracle, but the priests, uneasy, whispered that no child born of mortal and God could walk the earth without consequence. Their whispers reached the heavens. When the gods learned of Sihuehuet's betrayal, their wrath shook the skies. She had defied her husband, mocked the sacred order, and dared to love where she should have feared. The world itself began to reject her sin. The rains ceased, Rivers thinned to dying streams. The maize fields withered to dust, and the people cried out, asking what offense had angered the divine. "The beautiful woman," said the high priest, "has stolen the light of the gods. Until she repents, the earth shall thirst." Tekuatsin never returned. Some said he had fallen in battle. Others whispered that the gods had hidden him away to spare him the shame of her infidelity. Sihuehu had waited at the river for months, but no voice answered her cries. Her beauty began to fade like dying sunlight. Her once glowing skin turned pale and thin, her eyes hollowed with sleepless sorrow. Yet worse than hunger was the isolation. The people who once bowed to her now spat upon her name. She fled with her child into the wilderness. For years she wandered, sleeping under the trees, her only comfort the laughter of her son. But the god's punishment was not complete. One night, when the air was thick with thunder, a storm rose from the east. The winds howled, tearing branches from trees. Lightning split the sky. Sihuehu had clutched her child to her chest and cried out for mercy. But the gods answered only with fury. When she looked into the water to see her reflection, she gasped. The face that stared back was no longer hers. It was twisted, monstrous, hollow-eyed, and grinning with rot. Her scream echoed through the mountains. The gods' voice thundered, "You who worshipped your beauty shall now see it as it truly is. You shall wander the earth for eternity. Unseen and unloved, your face a mirror of your sin. Wherever water lies, your reflection will remind you of what you have lost." Then they tore the child from her arms. Seipatio, innocent though he was, carried the blood of gods. They cursed him as well, to remain forever a child, never to grow, never to find rest. His laughter would fill the air for eternity, but it would never again be heard by his mother. Sihuehuet woke alone in the wilderness. Her child was gone. The jungle, once green and vibrant, seemed to close around her like a cage. She called his name until her voice broke, until only the wind answered. That scream, long, endless, filled with a mother's grief, became a sound no mortal could forget. The people said the mountains shook that night. Birds fled their nests and the rivers foamed as though boiling. When morning came, there was no trace of the woman or the boy. Only a shadow by the riverbank and the sound of weeping carried on the wind. But the curse had only just begun. When the moon rose again, travelers passing through the jungle began to hear her. A soft voice calling through the mist, gentle and distant. "I, my child, I, my son." Those who heard it said it stirred something deep in their hearts, a pull, a longing they could not explain. The sound was tender, almost human. Some men followed the voice, thinking it belonged to a lost maiden, perhaps a spirit in need. They would see her by the water, her figure glowing faintly in the moonlight, hair flowing like silk. She would turn slightly and her beauty would strike them dumb. Her back was smooth, her shoulders perfect, her laugh soft as the rustle of leaves. She would whisper their names though she had never met them. "Come closer," she would say, "I am lost. Help me find my son." The foolish and the brave would approach. They would step into the water, mesmerized by her voice, by the promise of warmth. But when they reached her and she turned, the illusion shattered.